What's up, guys? Welcome to a new episode of the ynggpodcast. So, we're going to be talking about the Ilya Lyubushkin trade that happened later this evening that involves the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Anaheim Ducks. So, the Ducks retain 50% of Lyubushkin's contract. They receive a 2025 third round pick. Carolina finds himself in this deal as well. By retaining 25% of Lyubushkin's contract. So they receive a 2024 sixth round pick. And Toronto also receives the rights to Russian forward Kirill Slepets. So um, the Leafs are acquiring Lyubushkin at a cap hit of around 687,000, which is amazing since there's double retention in this deal. It's less than league minimum for this player, and that means that they have a lot more cap room to deal with and to work with, essentially heading into the trade deadline on March 8th. So they acquire a right-handed defenseman after they failed to acquire guys like Zadorov and Chris Tanev as well. Former players of current Toronto Maple Leafs GM Brad Treliving. They bring back Lyubushkin, who's played with the Toronto Maple Leafs in the past in the 2021-2022 season. He played 31 games with them. He had 6 points, 2 goals, and 4 assists. And he played 7 playoff games with totaling just 1 assist. After that, he went to play with the Buffalo Sabres. 68 games, he had 14 points. Then he got traded during this offseason to the Ducks, where he's totaled 4 points in 55 games. And he's having probably his worst season since the 2020-2021 campaign of the Arizona Coyotes, being a minus 13. He was undrafted. He's 29 years old. So obviously this is a depth, trade for the Toronto Maple Leafs. As you can see here, Mark Giordano, over the age of 40 years old, suffered a head injury versus the Arizona Coyotes during the first period. And, he's not getting any younger. So obviously that's a big blow to their decor. In terms of Lyubushkin and his contract, he was paid originally $2.75 million, but with the retention here, you could see what the Ducks retained in terms of salary and what the Carolina Hurricanes retained in salary, making this deal possible for the Toronto Maple Leafs. In terms of defensive pairing, well, he's going to be playing a third pairing role, in my opinion, where Mark Giordano being sidelined with a head injury. I do believe he'll take his spot on that pairing. Um, I could see him definitely getting penalty kill minutes and be put in a role where he's obviously known more for his defensive um, aspects in terms of a player. Not really known for his offensive game, more of a defensive player. In terms of Kirill Slepets, they get his rights. He's been playing in the KHL these past 2 seasons. He has 19 points in 53 games. He was drafted in the fifth round by the Carolina Hurricanes, 152 overall in the 2019 draft. He's currently 24 years old, and he's a left winger. So honestly, in terms of this deal, this is a very minor deal, just the patch up their defensive core. I do see Toronto potentially adding another defenseman come deadline, and honestly, um, it's they gave up a third round pick for a guy who's not having the greatest season, but obviously they're familiar with his game. They've had him in the past. He was a good fit with them. So I'm pretty sure they're expecting him to bounce back, playing on a much better team with the Toronto Maple Leafs as opposed to a bottom feeding team like the Anaheim Ducks. In terms of Jay Fresh, we could take a look right here, and he says that he's a physical depth defenseman, like I was alluding to before. He has put up good D results earlier in his career and is actually not a bad puck mover, but one of the most victimized blue liners off the rush in the past 3 seasons and takes way too many penalties. So that's essentially your overall consensus on the player. He is a right-handed defenseman, so on the third pairing. So, like I said, he would definitely slot in that third pairing role for the Toronto Maple Leafs, with Mark Giordano currently being sidelined with an injury. Taking a look here in terms of the Toronto Maple Leafs cap space, they currently have 1.5 million in cap space with 24 active players. Obviously, you have to take into consideration the LTIR that plays a role in them having some cap space. Um, so they do have some room to essentially make another move if they choose to. Obviously, this is the second deal in 2 days now where a third team was involved in terms of salary retention. We know that we live in an era where the salary cap is a problem for a lot of teams in terms of trying to trade for players and add, impactful players to their team in order to go on a deeper playoff run. That's where the third team is very important nowadays. In the last couple of years, we've seen that. In the last 2 days, we've seen that in the Chris Tanev trade, and now once again in the Lyubushkin trade. So, guys, I'd like to get your thoughts on this trade. Toronto Maple Leaf fans, how do you feel about reacquiring uh, Lyubushkin? Duck fans, how do you feel about trading Lyubushkin away for a third round pick? Do you like that in terms of value? Do you expect anything else to happen? I would assume that Vetrano and Henrique are the next two Ducks players to be traded. We'll see what happens. But like I said, I don't think Toronto's done. I think this is one of many moves that they'll be making heading to the deadline. The Toronto Maple Leafs are a very competitive team. Sure, they don't have the best playoff success. But under their new GM this year, Brad Treliving, I think he's definitely trying to give them the best chance to go on a deep playoff run here. So, guys, I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and we'll see you in the next episode of the Young Guns Podcast. Thank you so much, guys, for watching.